It was a typical Saturday at Burger King. Kids burst through the door, filling the room with noise and laughter. Timmy, smaller and quieter, stood out as an easy target. The aroma of grilled burgers filled the air. A large man, Sam, sat in a corner booth, unnoticed but observant. As the kids ordered, Sam's eyes never left them. He knew what they were about to do. He had seen things like this all the time. But he was not going to let it happen, not on his watch. Jake, the ringleader, smirked at Timmy. "Hey, Tiny Tim, got lost on the way to the kiddie park?" The other kids laughed. Timmy shrank back, cheeks flushing. Most customers glanced up but quickly returned to their meals. Behind the counter, the employees pretended not to notice. However, in the corner, Sam watched intently, a plan forming in his mind as he observed the unfolding scene. "Is that a Happy Meal?" Jake teased, pointing at Timmy's tray. "What are you, 5?" Timmy's face burned with embarrassment. The other kids laughed louder, enjoying the show. Jake looked very pleased with himself. He loved being the leader of his group. Sam leaned back in his booth, eyes fixed on the group. His presence was imposing, but no one seemed to notice him. Sam's lips curled into a small, knowing smile. The moment he was waiting for was close. The other customers were engrossed in their meals, indifferent to Timmy's plight. A couple in the booth nearby whispered to each other but did nothing. An elderly man sipped his coffee, staring out the window. Timmy's eyes darted around, seeking help. But there was no one willing to step in and stop the bullies. Behind the counter, the staff kept busy. Sam remained seated, biding his time. His eyes were sharp, calculating, ready to make his move. Things were about to get heated in Burger King. Timmy was 12 years old, but his small stature often made him appear younger. Despite his size, Timmy had big dreams of becoming a scientist. He was quiet and reserved, often finding solace in the library, where he devoured books on science and technology. The shelves of the library became his sanctuary, a place where he could explore the mysteries of the universe undisturbed. At home, Timmy lived with his parents, both of whom were supportive but often busy with work. His father, John, was an engineer, and his mother, Karen, was a nurse. They loved Timmy dearly, but their demanding jobs left them little time to fully understand his struggles. He was always found in his room, reading or doing research on his computer. Timmy's room was filled with science kits, books, and posters of famous scientists like Albert Einstein and Marie Curie. Timmy frequently asked his parents, "Why am I so small?" His mother would gently reassure him, "Everyone grows at their own pace, Timmy. You're perfect just the way you are." His father would add, "You're a smart kid, and that's what matters most. Your height doesn't matter if you have a big brain, son." Despite their comforting words, Timmy couldn't help but feel different from his peers. He often wondered if he would ever catch up in size. School was a challenge for Timmy. His small build made him an easy target for bullies, and he often felt invisible among his classmates. Despite his intelligence, his reserved nature made it difficult for him to make friends. He poured himself into his studies, finding solace in his academic achievements. His teachers recognized his potential, but Timmy longed for acceptance and companionship. He just wanted people to see him for who he really was. The library became Timmy's refuge. He spent hours there after school, losing himself in the world of books. The librarian, Mrs. Reeves, took a special interest in him, often recommending new books and encouraging his curiosity. "You have a brilliant mind, Timmy," she would say. "Don't let anyone make you feel small." Her words gave Timmy a boost of confidence, fueling his passion for learning. One day, a flyer for the school science fair caught Timmy's eye. Excited, he rushed home to tell his parents, "Mom, Dad, I want to enter the science fair." His parents were thrilled and promised to support him. Timmy spent weeks preparing his project, an intricate model of the solar system. He hoped that this would be his chance to prove himself and gain some recognition. He wanted everyone to see and know that there was more to him than just his height. Timmy couldn't wait to start working on his project. He already had so many ideas about what he was going to make. Although he had wanted to do something about the Earth, in the end, he chose to work on something involving all of the planets and the universe. It was something that he was very interested in, and his dream was to make a career out of it when he was older. Timmy worked tirelessly in the school science lab, putting the finishing touches on his solar system model. His excitement for the science fair was palpable as he delicately painted the planets. He hummed softly to himself, lost in concentration. He looked at everything about space and the universe. Little did he know, the bullies, led by Jake, were spying on him from the hallway, whispering and snickering about their plan to ruin his project. Needing a break, Timmy left the lab to use the bathroom. The moment he was out of sight, Jake and his friends slipped into the room. "Let's see how he likes this," Jake sneered. They tore apart the model, smashing the planets and scattering pieces across the floor. Satisfied with their handiwork, they left, laughing. Timmy returned moments later, his heart sinking at the sight of the destruction. Timmy fell to his knees, staring at the wreckage of his project. He felt tears well up in his eyes. This was his chance to prove himself, and now it was ruined. He gathered the broken pieces, his hands trembling. Mrs. Reeves, the librarian, found him there, devastated. "Oh, Timmy," she whispered, pulling him into a comforting hug. "We'll figure something out," she promised, though Timmy felt hopeless. On the day of the science fair, Timmy sat at an empty table, his heart heavy with disappointment. He watched as other students proudly displayed their projects, the judges moving from table to table. Jake and his friends smirked at him from across the room, their eyes gleaming with satisfaction. Timmy tried to hold back his tears, feeling more alone and defeated than ever. He wanted the whole universe to swallow him up. He hated the bullies so much, and all he wanted was for karma to one day get them. The bullying escalated. Jake and his friends took every opportunity to tease and torment Timmy. "Where's your science project, Tiny Tim?" they taunted. At lunch, they would knock his tray from his hands, scattering his food. In class, they would whisper cruel remarks and snicker at his discomfort. Despite his efforts to stay strong, Timmy's spirit was breaking under the relentless abuse. He just couldn't take it anymore. He had no idea that his bullies would continue their tirade even out of the school grounds. At home, Timmy tried to hide his pain. His parents noticed he was quieter than usual, but assumed it was due to the pressures of school. Timmy didn't want to burden them with his troubles. Instead, he buried himself in his books, finding solace in the worlds of science and discovery. He longed for a way to stand up to the bullies, but felt powerless to change his situation. But he just didn't know how he was going to do it. One afternoon, after a particularly harsh encounter with Jake and his friends, Timmy fled to the library. Mrs. Reeves found him crying in a corner. "Timmy, you can't let them win," she said gently. "You're stronger than you think." Her words planted a seed of determination in Timmy. He knew he couldn't face the bullies alone, but he wasn't sure where to turn for help. He wished he wasn't so small. He wished that he was big and tall and that would have no problem standing up to them. One Saturday, Timmy decided to spend the day at the city library. His parents, trusting his maturity, didn't mind him going alone. "Just be careful and call us if you need anything," his mother said as he headed out. Timmy loved the freedom of exploring the city on his own. He looked forward to a day immersed in books with no one to bother him. Little did he know that his day would take an unexpected turn for the worse. The city library was Timmy's sanctuary. He spent hours reading about the latest scientific discoveries, his mind absorbed in the wonders of the universe. The quiet and peace of the library made him feel at home. As the afternoon sun began to set, Timmy's stomach growled, reminding him that he hadn't eaten since breakfast. He decided to treat himself to his favorite meal at Burger King. Timmy had no idea that he was about to have a day from hell. Timmy walked into the Burger King, the familiar scent of burgers and fries making his mouth water. He ordered a burger, fries, and a milkshake, then found a quiet corner to enjoy his meal. For a moment, he felt a sense of contentment, savoring the delicious food and the solitude. He glanced around, seeing families and groups of friends, but none of his schoolmates. He fished out the books from his book bag that he had taken out from the library. He browsed through one as he waited for his meal to arrive. Moments later, a lady who had taken his order arrived with his food. It smelled delicious, and Timmy could wait to munch on the Whopper he had ordered. Just as Timmy was tucking into his burger, the door swung open, and in walked Jake and his group of friends. Timmy's heart sank. He had hoped for a peaceful day, free from their torment. He considered sneaking out before they noticed him, but it was too late. Jake's eyes locked onto him, and a sinister grin spread across his face. "Well, look who it is," Jake sneered. Jake and his friends surrounded Timmy's table, their presence intimidating. "What are you doing here all alone, Tiny Tim?" Jake mocked. Timmy's hands shook as he tried to remain calm. "Just having lunch," he replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "Looks like you need some company," another bully jeered, knocking over Timmy's milkshake, the creamy liquid spilling across the table. The bullies laughed as Timmy's face flushed with humiliation. "Oops, my bad," Jake said with fake innocence. They continued to taunt him, making cruel remarks about his size and intelligence. Other customers glanced over but quickly looked away, unwilling to get involved. Timmy wished he had stayed home, away from their cruelty. He felt trapped and alone, his earlier contentment shattered. However, Timmy and his bullies didn't know that there was someone watching the whole situation unfold. Who was this person? Timmy's attempt to stand up and leave was immediately thwarted by Jake and his friends. "Where do you think you're going, Tiny Tim?" Jake sneered, pushing him back into the booth. Timmy's heart raced with fear and frustration. He reached for his library books, but one of the bullies kicked them across the floor. "Look at all these nerd books," another jeered. "What a super nerd! You're such a big geek! No girl is going to want to go out with you." Timmy looked down at the library books strewn across the floor. What did he do to deserve this kind of treatment? He just wanted to be left alone. Timmy felt utterly helpless as the bullies continued their taunts. "What's wrong? Gonna cry, geek?" Jake mocked, leaning in closer. Timmy fought back tears, refusing to give them the satisfaction. He glanced around, hoping someone would intervene, but the other patrons avoided eye contact, unwilling to get involved. He felt more alone than ever, trapped by the relentless bullying. When was it ever going to end? Timmy remembered Mrs. Reeves' words, and he tried standing up for himself, but he just couldn't. He didn't know what more the bullies were capable of. The bullies showed no signs of stopping. They continued to hurl insults, pushing Timmy back into the booth whenever he tried to move. "Bet you think you're so smart, huh? Super nerd," one of them spat. Timmy clenched his fists, anger and humiliation boiling inside him. He tried to stay calm, reminding himself of the support he had at home and at school. But it was hard to stay strong in the face of such cruelty. Unfortunately for the bullies, they had no idea that someone had been watching them the whole time. Sam had headed to the Burger King just half an hour before the boys had arrived. He had ended up at the Burger King, craving something more substantial than the healthy salad his wife had lovingly packed him. His intention had been simple: grab a quick, satisfying meal and head back to work. However, fate had other plans for him. Guardian Angel Sam had been positioned as the unsuspected guardian angel of a young boy caught in a distressing scenario. The Burger King, usually a haven for quick bites and joyful chit-chat, had transformed into an arena of intimidation that day. Sam watched as the group of bullies, with the misguided confidence often fueled by their numbers, had cornered the boy who seemed to carry the world on his slender shoulders. With every mock and shove from the bullies, Timmy's resilience waned, his situation looking more dire by the moment. Sam, an unexpected spectator to this unfolding drama, watched with a furrowed brow from his corner table. Sam hadn't intended to become embroiled in a middle school melee. After all, he was just there for the fast food. Yet, as he observed the bullies relentlessly taunting Timmy, something within him stirred. A protective instinct, perhaps, or a remnant of his own childhood memories of unfair fights, and the yearning for someone to stand up on his behalf. The turning point came swiftly. The ringleader, a boy with a sneer that seemed too cruel for his age, pushed Timmy too far, both metaphorically and physically. That action sparked a decision in Sam, and, with a determination that surprised even himself, he wanted to rise from his seat. The bullies, absorbed in their misguided sense of power, hadn't noticed Sam yet. Their actions would be their undoing. Sam knew he didn't need to threaten or raise his voice yet. It would only be a last resort. He knew that when it came down to it, his words would be firm but fair, a reminder of the consequences of their actions and the disappointment in their choice to prey on someone unable to defend themselves. Then he saw his opportunity. The lead bully decided to take a break outside for a minute. Sam smiled. He could catch the bully one-on-one. In the seconds that Sam trailed behind the lead bully, walking out of Burger King, his mind was racing, strategizing the best way to approach this delicate situation. He was all too aware of the power dynamics at play and the delicate ego of the young bully. Sam knew he didn't need to be threatening just yet. That would only be a last resort. He understood that his words would need to be firm but fair, aiming to strike a chord of realization in the bully about the consequences of his actions. More than anything, he hoped to instill a sense of disappointment for choosing to prey on someone unable to defend themselves. He would speak as an adult to a child. Hopefully, hearing his disapproval would have an impact on the boy. Clearly, no one at home was instilling discipline into him. The autumn wind brushed against his face as he stepped outside, taking in the quickly cooling air. He looked for the bully. The bully had taken a moment to himself, leaning against the wall with a nonchalance that didn't quite reach his eyes. Perhaps there was more to his story than met the eye, Sam considered, but that didn't excuse his behavior. Taking a deep breath, Sam approached, his steps deliberate, yet non-threatening. He knew things could be misunderstood if he didn't make his intentions clear from the get-go. As he reached an appropriate distance, ensuring they were far enough away from the restaurant and its patrons, he cleared his throat to catch the boy's attention. The bully turned around, surprise flickering across his features. Any mask of bravado he wore started to crack under the weight of an adult's gaze. "Hey," Sam began, his tone even and calm. "Can we chat for a minute?" He didn't know what to expect. He could only hope for the best. The bully, taken aback, nodded slowly. There was a flicker of curiosity in his eyes, edged with wariness. Maybe there was more to everything than Sam knew. Sam took the opportunity to sit beside him, maintaining a respectful distance. "I saw what happened back there," he continued, his voice retaining its calm composure. "Picking on someone like that, it's not right." He watched as the boy internalized his words. Now, he just waited to see how he'd react. The boy's initial response was to puff out his chest, a reflex of defiance. Yet, as Sam spoke gently but with undeniable authority, something began to shift. The reality of their behavior and its impact started to dawn on the young bully, his bravado fading as quickly as it had appeared. "You're better than this," Sam said, his voice imbued with a sincere disappointment that seemed to resonate with the boy. "You have so much potential, so much strength. But real strength? It's helping others up, not pushing them down." The bully's eyes dropped, his previous confrontational stance deflating. It was clear the words struck a chord, reaching a part of him that knew the truth of Sam's message. I didn't think," he started, his voice barely a whisper. He seemed to slowly understand what he was doing. But would it stick? "That's just it," Sam interjected softly. "It's important to think about how our actions affect those around us. You have the power to lead, to influence. Why not use it for something good?" A moment passed in silence, the bully contemplating, digesting the weight of the conversation. Finally, he nodded, a silent agreement to try, to reflect on his actions. Sam stood up, offering the boy a nod. "Everyone makes mistakes, but it's what we do afterward that defines us." As he walked back into the restaurant, leaving the bully to his thoughts, Sam couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope. Perhaps today was a turning point, not just for Timmy, but for the bully as well. Maybe, just maybe, his words had planted a seed of change. But unfortunately, things wouldn't end as he thought they would. After a few minutes, the bully walked back in. He joined his friends, who were still mocking Timmy. "Hey guys, maybe we should go? I'm bored of this," Jake said. But the others seemed reluctant. "Nah, man, this is only getting started." Sam watched in horror as his speech with the bully faded from his mind. His friends easily peer-pressured him into going straight back to his old ways. He knew that he'd have to take drastic action. Unfortunately for the bullies, they had vastly underestimated the impact of their actions and the presence of a silent observer willing to step in. Sam had been in the right place at the right time, not for the whopper he initially craved, but to serve a much greater purpose. One of the bullies picked up a book Timmy had been reading about astronomy and flipped through it carelessly. "What's this junk? Stars and planets. Who cares?" he said, tossing the book aside. Timmy watched in despair as his precious book hit the floor. "You probably think you're going to be some big-shot scientist, don't you?" Jake taunted. "Newsflash, Timmy. No one cares about nerds." At this point, Timmy's blood was boiling. He hated when people disrespected books and knowledge in this manner. Timmy tried to gather his scattered books, but the bullies kept blocking his way, laughing and shoving him back. "Leave me alone," Timmy said, his voice shaking with a mix of fear and defiance. "Oh, poor little Timmy wants us to leave him alone," Jake mocked. The other bullies laughed, echoing Jake's taunts. Timmy felt a surge of anger but knew he was no match for them physically. The staff at Burger King just glanced over and went about their duties. But there was someone in the restaurant who didn't like what he was seeing at all. The breaking point. The taunting continued until Timmy couldn't take it anymore. "Why can't you just leave me alone?" he shouted, his voice breaking. The bullies were momentarily taken aback by his outburst, but quickly regained their composure. "Because it's fun," Jake sneered. And because you make it so easy, super nerd. Timmy's frustration and helplessness reached a breaking point. He wished desperately for someone, anyone, to help him. Just as the situation seemed hopeless, a large man who had been watching from a nearby booth stood up. His name was Sam Jones, and he was about to put an end to this bullying once and for all. "Enough!" Sam's deep voice boomed, commanding attention. He strode over to the group, his imposing presence making the bullies step back. "Leave him alone," Sam said firmly, his eyes blazing with anger. "Now!" Timmy looked up from where he was being pushed around in the booth. Was this his saving grace? The bullies hesitated, unsure of how to react to Sam's authoritative stance. "We're just having some fun," Jake tried to explain, but Sam wasn't buying it. "This isn't fun. It's bullying," Sam said sternly, "and it ends now." The bullies exchanged nervous glances before deciding it wasn't worth the fight. Timmy couldn't believe his eyes. Finally, someone was helping him. He looked at the big man with adoration and admiration. Jake, emboldened by his past bullying successes, squared his shoulders and stood up to Sam. "Who do you think you are?" Jake sneered, trying to sound tough. "You think you can tell us what to do?" Sam's eyes narrowed, his expression unwavering. "Yes, I do," he replied calmly, "and I'm not the only one." The rest of the restaurant, emboldened by Sam's stance, began to murmur in agreement. Things were about to get heated. As the tension grew, other patrons in the restaurant finally decided to act. "Leave the kid alone," one man shouted from a nearby table. "Yeah, get out of here," another woman echoed. The voices grew louder, a chorus of support for Timmy. The bullies looked around, realizing they were outnumbered, and that the crowd was firmly against them. Their confidence started to waver. For the first time, Jake and his friends were outnumbered, and Timmy couldn't have been happy to see this. Sam stepped closer to Jake, his presence imposing. "If you or your friends ever bully Timmy again, I'll call the police," he warned, his voice steady and firm. Jake glared at him, still trying to appear defiant. "You think you're so tough," he spat, but his bravado was starting to falter. The rest of the restaurant stood in solidarity, making it clear that the bullies were not welcome. Their time was clearly up. Jake's friends, sensing the shift in power, began to tug at his sleeves. "Come on, Jake, let's go," one of them whispered urgently. "This isn't worth it." Jake hesitated, his pride battling with the reality of the situation. He looked at Sam, who stood resolute, and then at the crowd, whose eyes were all on him. The pressure was too much to maintain his defiance. He didn't think that anyone would stand up to him and his friends, and it made him feel angry. In his mind, Timmy deserved to be bullied. Realizing they had no support, Jake finally backed down. "Fine, whatever," he muttered, trying to save face. "Let's get out of here." He shoved his hands into his pockets and turned to leave, his friends following suit. As they walked out, the restaurant patrons let out a collective sigh of relief. The bullies had been defeated, at least for now, and Timmy was safe. He picked up his books from the floor. His day was already ruined, though. Sam turned back to Timmy, who was still shaken but immensely relieved. "Thank you," Timmy said quietly, his voice filled with gratitude. Sam nodded, giving him a reassuring smile. "You did great, kid," he said. "Remember, you're not alone. There are good people who will stand up for you, but most importantly, you have to learn to stand up for yourself sometime or another." The other patrons nodded in agreement, offering Timmy supportive smiles and words of encouragement. As Timmy walked home, he felt a mix of emotions. The fear and humiliation from the bullying lingered, but the support from Sam and the other patrons gave him hope. He realized that standing up to bullies was not just his fight. There were others willing to help. Timmy felt a renewed sense of determination to not let the bully's actions define him or deter him from his goals. When Timmy got home, he shared the events of the day with his parents. They were both proud and concerned. "We're glad you're okay," his mother said, hugging him tightly. His father added, "And it's good to know there are people out there who will stand up for what's right." Timmy felt their love and support, which fortified his resolve to keep pushing forward. With a new sense of confidence, Timmy decided to focus on his strengths. He threw himself into his studies and his science projects, using them as an outlet for his creativity and intelligence. He also began to reach out more to his classmates, slowly building friendships and support networks. Timmy realized that he didn't have to face his challenges alone. There were people who cared about him. Mr. Rodriguez, Timmy's science teacher, continued to mentor Timmy, providing guidance and encouragement. He introduced Timmy to more advanced scientific concepts and experiments, helping him prepare for future science fairs and competitions. Timmy thrived under his mentorship, his passion for science growing even stronger. He knew that with hard work and determination, he could achieve his dreams and prove to everyone, including himself, that he was capable of greatness. As Timmy continued to excel in his studies and participate in school activities, he slowly began to make new friends. Some of his classmates, inspired by his resilience, reached out to him. Timmy appreciated their support and found that having friends made it easier to face the challenges of school. He was no longer alone, and the bully's power over him diminished. Timmy celebrated each small victory, from acing a test to making a new friend. These moments of success helped build his confidence and remind him of his strengths. He continued to work hard on his science projects, always striving to learn more and challenge himself. Timmy knew that he had the potential to make a difference in the world and was determined to keep pushing forward. As Timmy's confidence grew, he began to encourage other students who were facing similar challenges. He shared his story, hoping to inspire others to stand up against bullying and pursue their passions. Timmy found fulfillment in helping others, realizing that his journey had given him a unique perspective and the ability to make a positive impact. His future was bright, and he was ready to embrace it with confidence and determination. Timmy set his sights on long-term goals, including applying for science programs and scholarships. He was determined to turn his love for science into a successful career. His parents supported him every step of the way, proud of his resilience and ambition. Timmy's experiences with bullying had made him stronger and more determined to succeed. He knew that he had the potential to achieve great things, and he knew that if he would ever be in a bullying situation again, he was more than ready to stand up to himself. Timmy realized that his journey had not only been about overcoming bullying, but also about discovering his own strength and potential. He had grown from a small, timid boy into a confident and determined young man. Timmy knew that his future was bright, and he was ready to embrace it with all the passion and determination he had. His story was one of resilience and hope, inspiring others to believe in themselves and pursue their dreams.